What if I told you there's a cryptocurrency that went from being sued by the US government to potentially becoming Wall Street's next big thing? A coin that skyrocketed 420% in just 1 month last year, hitting prices we hadn't seen since 2018? Hey everyone, Crypto Nomad here, and today we're diving deep into XRP, the coin that's been called everything from a regulatory nightmare to Wall Street's dark horse. Right now, as of November the 6th, 2025, XRP is trading around $2.34, and there's a massive question on everyone's mind. Is this coin ready to skyrocket again, or have we already missed the party? Stick around because we're going to break down what XRP actually does, why major institutions are suddenly fighting over it, and what the data is telling us about where this coin could be heading. This isn't financial advice, just the facts you need to understand what's really going on. Okay, first things first. If you're new to XRP, let me break this down in the simplest way possible. XRP is a cryptocurrency that was created back in 2012, and it's designed to solve a really specific problem. International money transfers are painfully slow and expensive. Think about it this way. Imagine you're living abroad in Spain and someone back in the US needs to send you money for rent. If they use a traditional bank wire transfer, it could take 3 to 5 business days and cost them $30 to $50 in fees. That money has to go through multiple banks, currency exchanges, and clearing systems. It's like your money is taking a road trip across the world, stopping at every toll booth along the way. XRP was built to be the express lane. Transactions on the XRP ledger settle in 3 to 5 seconds and cost a fraction of a penny. We're talking about sending money across the world faster than you can make a cup of instant ramen. Here's where it gets interesting. XRP was created by the same people who founded a company called Ripple Labs. Now, XRP and Ripple aren't the same thing. XRP is the cryptocurrency, and Ripple is the company that builds payment solutions using blockchain technology. Ripple uses XRP as a bridge currency for banks and financial institutions to move money between different countries and currencies quickly. So, unlike Bitcoin, which is trying to replace traditional money, XRP is trying to make the existing financial system faster and cheaper. It's working with the banks, not against them. And here's a key fact. There are 100 billion XRP tokens that will ever exist. About 60 billion are currently in circulation, with the rest held in escrow by Ripple and released gradually over time. Now, here's where XRP's story gets dramatic. In December 2020, right at the end of Trump's first presidency, the US Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, dropped a bombshell lawsuit against Ripple Labs. The SEC claimed that Ripple had been selling XRP as an unregistered security since 2013, raising $1.3 billion illegally. This was huge because if XRP was classified as a security, it would face massive regulatory restrictions, and most crypto exchanges would have to delist it. The lawsuit absolutely tanked XRP's price. Investors panicked, major exchanges like Coinbase temporarily removed it, and for years, XRP was stuck in legal limbo while Bitcoin and Ethereum were hitting new all-time highs. But then, in July 2023, something incredible happened. Judge Annalisa Torres issued a ruling that was a partial victory for Ripple. She ruled that XRP itself is not a security when it's sold on public exchanges to regular investors like you and me. However, XRP was considered a security when Ripple sold it directly to institutional investors like hedge funds. This was a game changer. It meant that XRP could be traded freely on exchanges without being classified as a security, something that even Bitcoin and Ethereum don't have, explicit judicial validation. Fast forward to 2025, the lawsuit has officially ended. In March 2025, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse announced that the SEC was dropping its appeal. By August 2025, both parties filed to dismiss all appeals. Ripple paid a $50 million settlement, far less than the original $2 billion penalty that was being discussed. The war is over, and XRP won. This legal clarity is massive. It's one of the main reasons why so many people are bullish on XRP right now. When you remove years of legal uncertainty, investors and institutions can finally move forward without that dark cloud hanging over them. Let's talk about what happened last November because it was absolutely wild. In early November 2024, XRP was trading around 50 cents. By the end of the month, it had exploded to over $1.10. A 100% gain in just 1 week. By December, it peaked at $2.63, which was a 420% increase from where it started in November. What caused this insane rally? 3 major catalysts. First, Gary Gensler, the SEC chairman who was seen as hostile to crypto, announced he would be resigning. This was huge because Gensler's SEC had been in a legal battle with Ripple for years. His departure signaled a potential shift toward more crypto-friendly regulation. Second, Donald Trump won the 2024 presidential election, and his administration was expected to be much more favorable toward cryptocurrencies. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse even tweeted about attending crypto conferences where he said, "The US is ready to be the crypto capital of the world." Third, Ripple was preparing to launch RLUSD, a stablecoin pegged to the US dollar. This was seen as a major milestone that could bridge traditional finance and blockchain technology. All of these factors combined created perfect conditions for a massive rally. And here's something interesting. Historically, November has been XRP's strongest month. Looking at data over the past 12 years, XRP has averaged an 88% gain in November, with some years seeing triple-digit percentage increases. By January 2025, XRP briefly touched $3.31, a multi-year high that hadn't been seen since 2018 when XRP hit its all-time high of $3.84. So that brings us to today, November the 6th, 2025. XRP is currently trading around $2.34, which is down from that January high of $3.31, but still significantly higher than where it was a year ago. The price has been consolidating, bouncing between $2.20 and $2.70 for the past few weeks. Here's what the data is telling us. On-chain metrics show that long-term XRP holders have been selling off some of their positions. Since mid-October, we've seen significant outflows from wallets that have held XRP for 1 year, 3 months. But here's the interesting part. Large whales, addresses holding between 100 million and 1 billion XRP, have been accumulating. They've added about 1.27 billion XRP to their holdings in October alone, worth roughly $3.15 billion at current prices. So we're seeing this dynamic where smaller short-term traders are taking profits, but big institutional players are quietly building positions. Technical analysis shows XRP is trading below some key resistance levels. Market sentiment right now is cautiously bullish. The Fear and Greed Index for crypto is showing extreme fear at a score of 21, which often indicates oversold conditions. When the market is fearful, that's sometimes when the best buying opportunities appear, though of course it can also mean further downside. One really important development is the XRP ETF applications. Multiple major asset managers, including Grayscale, Bitwise, Franklin Templeton, 21 Shares, and WisdomTree, have filed applications with the SEC to launch spot XRP ETFs. These would allow traditional investors to get exposure to XRP through their regular brokerage accounts without having to buy and store the cryptocurrency themselves. The SEC was supposed to make decisions on many of these applications between October and November 2025, but most have been delayed. However, some XRP futures ETFs are already trading, and analysts like Bloomberg's Eric Balchunas believe spot ETF approval could happen by the end of 2025. If a spot XRP ETF gets approved, it could trigger massive institutional buying, similar to what we saw when Bitcoin ETFs were approved. Those saw billions of dollars in inflows within the first few months. All right, let's get real about both sides of this story. The bull case. First, XRP now has something almost no other cryptocurrency has legal clarity in the United States. The court explicitly ruled that XRP is not a security when traded on secondary markets. That removes a massive amount of regulatory risk. Second, XRP's technology genuinely solves a real-world problem. Cross-border payments are a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and XRP can settle transactions in seconds for fractions of a penny. Ripple has partnerships with hundreds of financial institutions globally. Third, the potential approval of spot XRP ETFs could bring billions of dollars in new institutional investment. When Bitcoin ETFs were approved, we saw similar price surges. Fourth, Ripple applied for a US banking charter in October 2025. If approved, Ripple National Trust Bank would have access to critical financial infrastructure like Fedwire and FedNow, massively boosting XRP's utility in the traditional financial system. The bear case. Now, let's talk about the concerns. First, while Ripple's technology is impressive, banks don't have to use XRP. They can use Ripple's payment network, but denominate transactions in traditional currencies. This means Ripple's success doesn't automatically translate to XRP's success. Second, major institutional players like BlackRock have explicitly said they're not interested in launching an XRP ETF, citing limited client interest. That's a red flag about institutional appetite. Third, XRP has already had a massive run-up. From November 2024 to January 2025, it gained over 600%. Some analysts worry that launching ETFs now could mark the beginning of the end rather than the start of a new bull run. Essentially, it might be a sell the news event. Fourth, the current market structure shows that most XRP holders are either at break-even or slight losses. This creates potential selling pressure if the price starts to move up, as people who've been holding through losses might take the opportunity to exit. Fifth, the broader crypto market is facing uncertainty. Bitcoin recently dipped below $100,000 for the first time since May, triggering over $2 billion in liquidations across the market. When Bitcoin struggles, altcoins like XRP typically struggle even more. So, is XRP ready to skyrocket? Here's my take based on everything we've covered. XRP is in a fascinating position. It has stronger fundamentals than it's had in years. The legal battle is over. Real-world utility is growing. Institutional interest is building. And ETF approvals could be on the horizon. But it's also facing headwinds. The market is fearful. Smaller holders are taking profits, and there's no guarantee that ETFs will be approved or that they'll drive the kind of massive inflows we've seen with Bitcoin. Here's what you need to understand. Cryptocurrency is extremely volatile and risky. XRP could absolutely surge from here. It has the catalysts in place. But it could also pull back significantly if market conditions worsen, or if institutional interest doesn't materialize. Remember, this isn't financial advice. I'm just breaking down the facts and data for you. Never invest more than you can afford to lose, and always do your own research. Now here's what I need from you. If you found this breakdown helpful, smash that like button. It helps more people discover these deep dives. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on XRP. Do you think it's heading to $5, or will it pull back? I read every single comment, and I want to hear what you think. And if you're not already subscribed to Crypto Nomad, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're breaking down the biggest stories in crypto with zero hype. Just facts, data, and real analysis you can actually use. Thanks for watching.